Hello, everybody. I want to introduce you to an app that I've been creating off and on since the COVID times. That came from my need to get more objective data when seeing patients remotely in a telemedicine concept for herbal medicine. What I found many of times is that you have an idea of what's going on with that person, but without being able to touch them, take their pulse, palpate them, you really are torn between a few different directions, and then you're throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. And if the patient gets better, then you got the formula right, and if not, well, then maybe you try the other one. But that's not good medicine, and in fact, that's actually really bad medicine. So I created this test, which is essentially a series of weighted questions and then weighted refinement questions given as a quiz to a patient that gives you kind of a data report based on the traditional formula families of classical herbal medicine. If you think this is useful, and you want a very beta early access to this, just send me an email or message and I'll give you an account to play with. I make no promises that this is useful or good for you, but I have found it to be extremely useful to the point that I'm now using it with people that I see in real life as opposed to just telemed, depending on the case, because it speeds up the inquiry and makes me think about other things to ask that person beforehand. Of course, a good comprehensive intake might do that as well. But I have found this to be really useful and has led me in directions that I did not think about, which have given me really good results. So after logging in, you will wind up a screen that looks like this. And essentially, these are all the patients that this login has seen. And when you log in, you would be able to add a new user. You put your name in, the email address, the exam, which right now you only have availability to one of them. There are others I'm playing with, but like I said, I haven't found them to be that useful, so they're disabled. And if you hit invite, it will send them this test, the JingFang test, classical formula test, right away, and they will show up here. So they will show up like this. I'm highlighting this one area as not completed, not attempted. Once they attempt it, they will show up like this with the ability to click on the results and see a results screen. So I'm going to bring up some real patient data. So here's a patient, and we're looking at them, and they come in, and their initial case, where they presented with a lot of heat, and so much heat at night that their partner couldn't stay in the bed with them. They had a low-grade fever at night. It's been getting worse. And they even had a hormonal panel and lab panel, and everything was completely normal. They were early 30s, female, and they did not present with any menopausal symptoms clearly. So I'm wondering what's going on. So they first presented with Huang Lian and Guizhi. Now, priority questions are questions that are hallmark questions that are clearly related to that formula family, which means that it immediately goes into a series of refinement questions. We may also hit refinement questions if that person answered a significant amount of questions in a specific formula family, in which case we're going to go further in. So first, their most dominant answer, but when we're looking, even Shigao, Chai Hu, Da Huang, Guizhi, and Huang Lian. So this person has some sort of stagnation heat, maybe, right? So we're looking, and there's Huang Lian, Da Huang, but they had priority questions. If we scroll down here, these are the questions that they asked. When we went to Guizhi, they were not positive on any of the Guizhi questions. So the question is, if we look at Guizhi, they feel like they have some sort of sweating. They feel an upward motion. They're easily startled and all these things. They're not a Guizhi person. They're not. When we look at Da Huang, there's some stickiness, something stuck in them for sure. And and then they have that Huang Lian. I remember we started predominantly with I went with predominantly a Huang. I went with predominantly with a Da Huang formula with them after looking at them and assessing, because it really was a coin toss between Da Huang and Huang Lian. And I don't remember what specific formula, and I customized it. I don't have their charts in front of me. And they came back. In that week later. We looked at them. And a week later, they were 100% Da Huang, a little Huang Lian, now showing some Bansha. And refinement questions, they were really Da Huang. So that first formula that they were on actually was a combination of Huang Lian and Da Huang. And in this case, I just went heavy on the Da Huang, and I went heavy on purging the bowels, because they were definitely constipated. And when we look at them on that third time, when they followed up, another week later, that Da Huang symptoms went down, Huang Lian symptoms went down. They were pretty much normalizing. Most of the heat was gone. I modified the formula a little more with keeping the Da Huang but not purging. I added a little more Huang Lian in it, and I actually added more Chai Hu, even though they weren't showing in it, because they were a person that tended to stagnation. I think that's where it came from, and their symptoms completely resolved. So this app guided me to choose between Da Huang and Huang Lian, and helped me actually figure out which direction I wanted to go, and allowed me to ask more questions when I sorted the person over Zoom to say, hey, which one is it, Da Huang or Huang Lian? Even though Huang Lian on their first visit, if we open that up again, was more predominant, I felt that it was Da Huang, but I went with a combination of the two. I didn't really heavily purge their bowels. I was just trying to clear some of that heat. And it didn't do all the things I wanted to do. But after refining the formula, by the third formula, we hit it out of the park. The symptoms were gone. 6-month follow-up, they still have not had any of the symptoms. They were suffering from this for about 3 months before they reached out. So that's kind of how it works. When we're looking here, if we want to invite the person for more stuff, we can hit invite again. You can do follow-up questions that way. And then what's interesting, I'll go to that patient to see real time. If we do a view results comparison, we see through the 3 different tests and their dates, and the more tests you'll see by formula family the changes. So things, they started much more Guager. They became more Da Huang and they went down. The Huang Lian went down. Bacha went up and went back down. Ganzhang, Zhifuzi, right? Shigao stayed the same at 50% the entire time. So this is a different way of looking at the data over time of how they've changed. The Chai Hu over time went down, so their stagnation went down. And I find that to be fairly useful as well. So that's how the app works. Ultimately, it sends them a email, and the email looks like this when you invite them. It's invited to myself. They would click on it, and then what will happen is they will have the test. Now, let me show you the test. So I'll go here for me. I'll invite again. I'm going to send myself another test and hit invite. I will get my email. I will click on the link, and here it is. So when we start, they'll see the test, and I'm going to just randomly answer these. Now, the more things that are true, the more chance of refinement questions. So no matter what, the patient is going to be presented with 52, I believe, core questions, no matter what. From the way I answered those, we have, what's this, 5 refinement questions. I'll say true, true. I'll just say true to all of them, who cares? Or true, false. when we go back to the screen, just refresh it. And we go back, here's my most recent attempt. I can view the results, and here we are with exactly what I took. That's how it works. I find it to be quite useful. I work from Professor Huang Huang's lineage, and I use his books as my core reference guides. So, like I said in the beginning, if you are interested in playing around with this, if you think this is useful to you, feel free to reach out and I'll get you a very beta access to it.